kind of the theme for the night is the Continental Classic. And this afternoon, they held their selection special to announce all of the participants. So we have the Blue League and the Gold League, blue and gold. And in the Blue League, we have Bryan Danielson, Andrade El Idolo, Brody King, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and Eddie Kingston. Over in the Gold League, it is Jon Moxley, Swerve Strickland, Roosh, Mark Briscoe, Jay Lethal, and Jay White. So I would say, first of all, your impression of the participants.
I think it's a really strong field. If the sort of comparison point is the G1, then this couldn't have been simply a tournament full of mid-carders, and it's not. I mean, it's a good mix, but predominantly you have some of the biggest stars in the entire company in Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. And at this point, I think, somebody like a Swerve Strickland or Jay White, somebody who just main evented your pay-per-view. Along with that, Eddie Kingston, who's always a fan favorite, and a bunch of up-and-comers that like it, Andrade El Idolo or Brody King. Or Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, absolutely. So I think it's a really strong mix, and everybody, how many people are here? 12. All 12 people. Every matchup you can almost look forward to. So
yeah, it seemed like the lineup was met with pretty positive reaction. I would say Bryan Danielson is the key person in this. I think that this feels as though it's a tournament built around him for him to showcase. And you have the match with Eddie Kingston that I think will be very unique. You have a rematch with Garcia. It's funny that he'll be doing the rematch with Andrade, who is where he injured the orbital bone, but in storyline, it was due to Okada and Orange Cassidy. So they can't really draw attention to that, even though there is a built-in story for this rematch. That, and we're probably going to get the only singles match in AEW between Castagnoli and Danielson in this tournament. Mm-hmm. And then on the gold side, I would say, based on tonight, we will get into the matches. Tonight featured everyone in the Gold League was in action tonight. Moxley is a big addition. And I think it just speaks to the depth of AEW that here we are, this tournament, there is no Kenny Omega, there is no Hangman Page. And still you have this level of depth that, overall, this is the first year that they're doing this, and I think they know that this needs to stand out as more than just one of dozens of tournaments that AEW has done. This one needs to stand out in a bit of a different way, and the only thing I would like to see them put out maybe a schedule of all the matches, so not just for fan interest, but also all these markets that you're coming to. When is that Danielson Claudio match happening? When is that Danielson Kingston match happening? And you can have several weeks to promote all these matches. You should be able to have all of the dates scheduled here, and hopefully they don't run into any problems along the way, like an injury or something that could throw all this into chaos.
Well, I wonder if they even know when Bryan Danielson might actually.
Well, yeah, he's not announced for Saturday, and I mean, it's tough. He is the one that everyone is banking. Now, I guess worst case, if he's not cleared this week, he can make up time and wrestle on a Dynamite and a Collision to get to his 5 matches. But even so, it's, when he did his video thing today, he was noting the fact that his orbital was broken in 2 places, which I assume is legitimate what he's stating. And, the fact that he had not been cleared to fly as of the last update. And here he is, needing to, I don't see any of these matches being, simple, just smoke and mirrors or anything like that you can get away with. That would be to his satisfaction either.
No, there's no Toriano in this field, unfortunately, for the break match. But they need to build this tournament as something that is of high quality, high in-ring quality. And I think maybe this was planned a long time ago, but at least the timing of something like this, I think, is very important for AEW because they're facing a lot of criticisms, especially coming off of Full Gear, of being too sports entertainment reliant and not maybe delivering maybe what the calling card for the company was at the beginning, and that's just strictly in-ring content. So at least with this field, you can almost be kind of assured that every match is going to deliver something of that caliber.
And we'll get into the matches itself. But yeah, the rules, we got the 20-minute time limits. So that'll be the length, which they can even call up the network and get more time if needed be to make these time limits legit.
Uh-huh.
as this match got in the ring at like 9:51 for Moxley and Mark Briscoe. But yes, 3 points for the win, 1 for a draw. Everyone is banned from ringside in big block letters. So you better put your money where your mouth is, Way. You better tuned in to Dynamite tonight, okay? All your complaints. We're giving you 3 matches tonight.
So a DQ is 3 points, I'm assuming, for the other person?
Yeah, I guess so. If you get disqualified, you would lose.
Right. Okay.
So I guess that's how it's explained.
Any predictions so far? Early on?
I would think that a lot of people are looking at the potential of doing like a Moxley Danielson in the finals. I could see that. I guess with the ROH and strong titles, I don't see Kingston going to the finals here, even though it's his titles at stake. I would say Danielson is almost a lock unless there's an injury that's going to affect him in this tournament. Being on the one side, and then the gold side, I would say Moxley and Swerve would be your standouts. I almost don't want to see Swerve win this thing, because I think that this then almost becomes his thing, right? Like he gets a championship and is away from the world title mix that I think he has elevated himself to. And I think the audience sees him at that level as well. But again, you also don't want to position this as secondary either. But I guess those would be my 3 on the short list: Moxley, Swerve, and Danielson.
I personally do see Kingston making it to the end, just because they made a big deal of him, being the guy that is defending these championships. And even though he will certainly lose a match or two within this entire tournament, I think the visual of having him actually be the person that the last person pins to win the championships might be something that's important for them to do. So I could see him winning
Kingston and Moxley there's a shot of that.
Or Kingston and Swerve, if you're looking to actually cement somebody. I don't disagree with you that, we all want to see Swerve maybe with the big championship, but I also know that they might have a lot of plans in place for MJF and Adam Cole with that, world championship. And I don't know if they're willing to change that just for Swerve, whereas this might be their idea of, satisfying an audience that wants to see him in a significant role. Whether or not that will be satisfying enough, remains to be seen, but I could see him at least going to the end.
This is also, given the timing of this tournament overlapping, would suggest that there won't be any ROH title match at Final Battle. Because Final Battle is in the middle of December. So it would make no sense for Kingston to be able to defend this title at that pay-per-view.
That's a very good point. I didn't realize that. So Final Battle's not going to have a world title match.
It wouldn't make any sense to have one.
Yeah.
Like you could do one of these tournament matches at Final Battle, but it's not really the same as a title. Like the title, you literally can't make.
You're not going to. That they showed you all the dates. Did
they show all the dates? Oh, you're right. They did. They promoted all the cities that they're taking place in, just not when each match is taking place. Yeah,
but they at no point showed any ROH logo. It's either Rampage, Dynamite, or Collision. So
yeah,
that's very interesting. This Final Battle looks pretty skippable, actually, as the weeks go on, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be the Shibata match that'll headline.
Yeah, they could use that, or it's Honor Club, right? Like it's not like you're asking for the same amount. And listen, if you're going to headline a show with an Athena, this is the card to do it. If you're headline,
totally. Yeah.
If you're going to headline with MJF and Samoa Joe having to team up one more time before World's End, that's the show to do it on. You can get away with a lot less, because you're not asking people to spend $50 on this show. You're asking them to sign up for Honor Club. There is a different entry point. I think in a perfect world, you also could have announced this field in a bit more of advance than the afternoon of, allow people to really digest
fantasy book.
Exactly. Like that's part of the fun of G1 is like you've got weeks of people doing their pools and predictions, and it becomes, you're catering to like that fantasy league observer that makes like a whole season out of this kind of thing. And here they gave you a couple of hours to get ready for this. And it's I think there's limitations. Like you don't know when all these different matches are happening, and hopefully they get that stuff out. But I just think in future iterations, like allow your fans to really anticipation is something that with so much content that comes your way, you don't get too many opportunities to allow people to really want something and wait for something and then deliver it. And granted, there's pay-per-views, there's shows. And I think this is the kind of thing you want to be able to get a bit of a lead for people. And to get all that kind of stuff out there.
And how prestigious is this Triple Crown going to be treated after this tournament? I think that'll tell you a whole lot about, how people might take this seriously as well. Like the G1, I think still works because it's for the Wrestle Kingdom main event. Is the Triple Crown going to mean a similar level, without world title implications attached to it? I don't know.
Yeah. Like, think about what is the value of a strong championship, an ROH championship, and now you're throwing a third one in versus something like the winner of this tournament is Sting's final opponent. You know what I mean? Like something that the audience would take as, okay, that's significant. Like there's different levels of them. Like titles in and of itself, I think it's harder to make them have that same feel to it in a tournament that doesn't have the prestige and history of like a G1, even that it's just, you say the G1 is selling you because the concept is over to you.
Or timing this maybe before, if All In is going to be traditionally a stadium show, maybe timing this before All In to say the winner gets the main event of All In, for instance, Anyway, maybe getting ahead of ourselves here.
Okay, so you don't have a final judgment on the success of the Continental Classic Year 1.
They gave you, I think the intent was to show you, okay, this is going to be a star-studded tournament with some sort of like, people in the mid-card looking to make their way up, and they want to give you serious matches with no bullshit finishes. And you didn't, other than the low blow, which I think is fair for a heel like Jay White, you didn't get any bullshit finishes.